Hi everyone, so today I'll be doing a review on the new Bath & Body Works 3-wick 14.5 ounce candle in the scent Glazed Cherries. The retail price of this candle is $27.95. However, I purchased this during the first day of Candle Day or the Candle Day weekend, so I got it for $9.95 before tax. My batch code is 5282M8EA, and this one was a part of the Sunday Funday collection, which had the very distinct silicone rubber, almost like pastel green waffle lids, which some people liked and some people didn't. I personally think that it's bad for those who extinguish their candles with the lid, fire hazard, and also for people who have a lot of indoor pets. I have a husky, he sheds a lot, but he's mainly outdoors, so I've only found a few hairs on it. But to talk about the packaging, besides the waffle lid, I like that it's innovative, but it reminds me a lot of DW Home because if you've gone to your local TJX stores, DW Home was one of the first companies that I've seen that used rubber silicone lids, and they can get a little gunky. For the wraparound packaging, I think it's very nice that they depict some juicy red maraschino cherries with almost this like pink polka dot wraparound label. And I like that the seams match up at the back. My label at the bottom is a little bit off-centered, but I found that to be the case with a lot of my recent Bath & Body Works candles. The wax is just clear, or not clear, but it's like a white wax, and it has thicker, ropey wicks, which made me a little bit nervous because typically those thicker, ropier wicks tend to dud out at the halfway mark or a little bit before then. And because of that, they burn a little bit brighter and the wax color gets discolored. But I've been having some differences. To read the scent story online, it says, because every Sunday Funday needs a cherry on top, how about one that's infused with bright citrus and smooth vanilla? Now this is where the real fun comes in. It's designed to be used alongside the other scents in this collection. Start with a sugared waffle cone and Neapolitan ice cream, and then add extra toppings like hot fudge drizzle, butterscotch swirl, and gummy candies for a full Sunday bar experience. Fragrance notes: glazed cherries, orange lemon twist, vanilla cream. And to me initially, this just smelled like a very juicy, heavy on the syrupy red cherry fragrance. Almost exactly as you would think a maraschino cherry, that jar when you first open it. However, I did pick up on the creamy nuances. It made me think of almost like the Cherries Jubilee flavor from Baskin-Robbins, just minus the rum, or even like an orange creamsicle sherbet mixed in there. And I don't get too much on the citrus notes. If anything, I get mainly the orange and not so much the lemon twist part of it. When I got home, and the more and more that I smelled it, and like more so the lid area, it reminds me, and I do see where people are saying that it's similar to Firecracker Pop. However, I have to say, since I have that right here, let me go ahead and show you how an older single wick mason jar looks like. All right, so here is Firecracker Pop in an older mason jar, if I can focus. So this one, the fragrance notes are red cherries, fresh citrus, juicy berry with natural essential oils, $15.95. So right away, Firecracker Pop is a lot stronger on cold, whereas I feel like the strength on cold for glazed cherries would be like a low 6 out of 10, barely 6 out of 10. I would say that Firecracker Pop on cold is like a solid 8. And the main difference that I find is that glazed cherries, since I'm able to detect this creamy note, it seems more edible to me. Versus Firecracker Pop, there's some, I'm not sure what it is, if it's a musk note that's in the base notes, but there's an inedible note in here that if someone handed me like a food or a drink like this, and I smelled it, I would think this isn't like fully edible, versus if I was blindfolded and I smelled glazed cherries, especially while burning, and it does transform, I would think, oh yeah, I can eat this. Firecracker Pop to me is a lot brighter, and it has a heavier emphasis on like a fresh, bright citrus. Again, very fresh, bright, happy. It smells more like a slushy or a Slurpee mixed in with an inedible note, versus glazed cherries. It seems more like some type of dessert, and I think that's the main difference. And in my opinion, if you feel like Firecracker Pop and glazed cherry smells very similar, which they are more so on cold similar than while burning, stick to Firecracker Pop, because Firecracker Pop performance, I have always gotten for the 3 wicks, at least a medium strength, and that has definitely not been the case for this glazed cherries. Another candle that people online were comparing this to is Black Cherry Merlot. And I would say that I slightly disagree because Black Cherry Merlot, it smells to me very deep, rich. It almost reminds me of smelling kind of like juiced berries that are almost like fermenting. They'll stain your clothes, and that's definitely not what I'm getting from this glazed cherries or even firecracker pop. So that's another big difference. When I think about other cherry fragrances, I think of Perfect and Pink, and that one does have a flower note. I believe it's camellia, and that one smells more like body care mixed in with a little bit of cherry. We also have Sweetheart Cherry, which came out. This was, I believe, the re-release. I believe it was first out in a single wick, and the fragrance notes to Sweetheart Cherry are wild cherry, crushed pistachio, and whipped vanilla. And this one, I definitely have to say that the pistachio note takes over a bit. And if anything, glazed cherry to me smells more like almond extract while burning, which is a little bit of a spoiler. So let me go ahead and change the angle, and I'll get to more of my thoughts on the performance and while burning. All right, so here's an overhead view of my candle. Right now my flames are about, I would say, a solid medium, and I am in hour 2 of my burn. Maybe about 30% done with the candle, and I'm a little bit before the halfway mark. So far, no issues with any wick residue fallout, no real mushroom tops, and it hasn't been emitting any soot despite, again, the thicker rope wicks. So during my first burn, I did not trim my wicks beforehand. It did take a while for this candle to fully pull out. I would say over an hour. Now that I'm lower down in the candle, I would say it takes about closer to 45 minutes, but it still takes a little bit longer than some other Bath and Body Works candles that are more closer to like the 30 to 45 minute mark. So with my first burn, I barely started to smell it after about minute 45, and it was very, very light. So I felt like I was a bit nervous is what I'm trying to say. And I would give the strength at that point in time, it was about a 5 out of 10. And let me tell you, I think it only got worse. When I first burned it, I thought, okay, maybe it'll pick up a little bit as I burn it more and more. And sadly, I feel like my strongest burn was definitely the first one. And this almost reminded me when people were speculating that Yankee Candle was top loading their candles with fragrance oils, because it almost seems like after I burned that first layer, the candle re-solidified. And then even when I go to smell it right now, it's very, very faint versus earlier on in my review, I said that the strength on cold was maybe a 6 out of 10. It wasn't the lightest of the collection, and it definitely wasn't the strongest. But right now, it smells even lighter than Neapolitan ice cream smelled on cold, which that one was pretty light. So I don't know what's happening here, but it's almost as if after I burn the candle, it doesn't retain the fragrance. I'm getting more scent even off of the silicone rubber lid than I do from the actual wax. And spoiler, I actually tried to return this candle, but I guess Bath and Body Works is becoming more strict with their return policy. So this is definitely a candle that I would not recommend, and I would not repurchase. I do have another one, but I think I'm going to keep it just for like an experiment sake, or to lamp it or crock it. I want to see if, now that I feel like they're tweaking with the wax formula, I want to see if having it, I guess, quote unquote, curing in the collection will make this any stronger. Okay, so the fragrance while it's burning, I feel like this takes me through a journey, because that first burn, again, was the most similar, I would have to say, to Firecracker Pop, but without the refreshing, watery notes, with a slight hint of like inedibleness. I feel like the first burn, I got a lot of like the sweet maraschino cherries with a tiny hint of this like cream note. However, after that, I feel like the more and more that I burn this, it turns into almost an almond, like a cherry almond extract, and somehow the cherry note kind of disappears a bit. I feel like that creamy almond note really takes center stage. It's very different from other, I would say, cherry almond scents that Bath and Body Works has come out with. I can't think of one that it smells just like it. I know we did have cherry almond shortbread, which was released sometime, I think, during the fall collection. I do have that right now, but I feel like that one has too much of that shortbread cookie note, and this one just smells a little bit more like the extract itself versus like a cookie that's already been baked, if I'm making myself clear. So here is cherry almond shortbread. If I can kind of get that into focus, it's a little bit off-centered. So the notes to cherry almond shortbread are vanilla shortbread, candied almond, and cherry. And this one, it reminds me a little bit too much of fresh almonds or like grated almonds and less so of like an almond extract. It does smell edible as well, but I feel like it just smells like a different scent. It's good, but I just wish it was stronger. So I would say the strength while burning, first burn, it was maybe about a 5. And now it is sadly, I feel like it's like a 2 or a 3 in my medium-sized bedroom. Also, sadly, it doesn't fill up my medium-sized bedroom. I've even tried having it burned with the door closed, and I feel like it's very much the little scent that I'm getting, it's concentrated towards one corner of my room, and it has pockets in that little corner. So it's not even like the whole entire corner is full of, this delicious almond extract, which I do like, by the way. I just wish that this was a lot stronger. And I feel like one of my theories is that since they came out with the Sunday Funday collection, which I believe would have been better suited to be released during the summer or just a warmer weather time. Right now we're in winter, it's cold. I don't think anyone's thinking, yeah, ice cream. I mean, I like ice cream, but I would assume people would want to burn this or have this collection out during the summertime. Where was I going with this? I have this theory that maybe they are making candles cheaper for Candle Day, or because this collection was marketed to be burned with others from the collection to quote unquote make your own. I feel like if you have several candles burning all at once, it might be a bit too overwhelming. So they thought, oh, they're going to have these burning with other candles. Let's skimp out on the fragrance oils, something like that. But honestly, I think I would prefer to just buy a candle that has everything. So instead of me getting like a cherry on top and like having that with the ice cream, I would just kind of want to already buy a candle that smells, for example, like Neapolitan ice cream with the cherry on top. And I feel like the description online is essentially what I'm smelling, like one cherry instead of several glazed cherries. The projection, again, I think I might have said this already, but it is very poor as well. It doesn't travel past my medium-sized bedroom. I don't even think it gets halfway across my medium-sized bedroom. So sadly, I'm kind of stuck with this. And if I really want to smell this, I feel like I would have to have this burning right next to my workspace or my desk area. I wouldn't even venture to put this in an open concept space. I think it would even be very light in a small bedroom. Heck, even a bathroom. I feel like that Firecracker Pop single wick that I showed you earlier on, I think even that one gave me more strength and throw. So I don't know what is going on, if this is a batch issue, but I feel like the candles from the Sunday Funday collection have been overall, the ones that I burned, which have only been 2, they're a bit on the lighter side. And again, maybe that's because you are intended to mix and match with other candles from the collection, but I am the type of person who prefers to burn one candle and have that one candle perform in the space that I put it in, especially if it's a 3 wick. So I feel like if you did smell this candle and you felt like it was very similar to Firecracker Pop, I think it does smell very similar on cold. If you're regretting not purchasing it, I wouldn't lose sleep over it because Firecracker Pop is going to give you the performance that you want. If you're missing it for the cherry almond fragrance, I feel like there are other scents that incorporate that, specifically cherry almond, or the cherry almond shortbread. And I feel like, sadly, it's a little bit much like a single note. I still get a slight hint of a syrupy maraschino cherry, but it's kind of taken over by this almond extract scent that I keep getting. And I think that's mainly because the fragrance isn't coming across while burning. So yeah, that has been my experience. Overall, I would not recommend this candle. I wouldn't repurchase it. Heck, I wanted to return it, but I was denied. So I think I'm just going to burn this one and then see if it performs better underneath a candle lamp or a candle crock. But I personally like buying my candles to burn. Again, no issues with the burn. And I'm very surprised that these ropey wicks didn't create mushroom tops really at any like significant mushroom tops at any point in time. So I am noticing a cleaner burn. Again, I'm curious if Bath and Body Works is tweaking with their wax formula, which would honestly make sense because the performance just hasn't really been as great as it was in the past. Notably, like the 2025 candles. So yeah, that has been my experience. Overall, I really enjoyed Glazed Cherries. I can see the similarities to Firecracker Pop or other candles like Black Cherry Merlot or other Bath and Body Works fragrances. However, because the performance just isn't there, I wouldn't go to reselling sites to purchase this unless if you're just buying this for collection's sake. But if you want it to burn, I would maybe just check your batch code or see if it smells good, if it smells strong enough on cold, because I feel it got significantly weaker. So sadly, this one just didn't live up to my expectations, but I hope you're having a much better experience. Let me know if, for example, if you burned glazed cherries and you're having stellar performance, maybe let me know your batch code. But yeah, this candle I believe is currently sold out. But again, I wouldn't say that this is one of the candles that you need to pay $60, $50 on reselling sites for. I think it's just okay. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Okay, bye.